Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Relationship Arena. This is where we come, we talk about all things relationship with ourselves, with our world, with others. And I'm gathering up some amazing guests, as well as doing some behind the scenes sessions with what's coming up for my clients. And today I'm very excited. I'm always excited when I've got guests, but I'm very excited today because I have, to use a term that I used to use a lot, reconnected with the amazing Jimi. And Jimi and I worked together in a past life, and then we kind of went our separate ways and have both done amazing things. And now we have got together to talk about something that we hold very passionate, which is women, relationship in corporate, loads of things going on. But I am going to hand over to Jimi. Jimi, tell my viewers who you are and tell them what you've been up to recently.
Sure. I am. So my name is Jimi Okubanjo. I live for today in Kent, England. In a previous life, I worked as a management consultant. I worked in 14 countries, 4 continents, with close to 300 senior technical business leaders, helping them, deliver engineering projects better. And it does sound kind of boring, and
No.
it has its moments. But I left corporate a couple of years ago to produce my first documentary, a movie. It's called Vanishing Women. It's a feature-length documentary, and I gathered the stories of seasoned, experienced senior women of color in and around London who left corporate due to toxic sexism, harassment, bullying, racism, and how these women are rebuilding their lives and their careers, doing work they love on their own terms, and what that return to health really looks like. And that's been how I spend my days. And it's been a real interesting exercise for me because it brings up a lot of challenging for myself
Mm-hmm.
about how I see myself and
Mm.
how am I going to allow myself to heal and grow from what I went through corporate, because, spoiler, I am one of the women that's going to be featured in the documentary.
So, that's kind of how we came across each other again. We came across each other on the LinkedIn platform.
Yeah.
You were in the process of kind of gathering everything you need. You were in the middle of you were getting started, to make this amazing documentary. And it just really resonated with me because for me, this was about women exploring that relationship in the environment that they've been in, how that environment affected their relationship with themselves and then that bigger world. And now that relationship that they're creating with themselves, having taken that huge step, to take action and do something different. And, it really sat with me in terms of, such a powerful story to tell. Now, it's not many people I interview that say, so I left and then I decided to create my own feature-length documentary. So, what made you decide that was the avenue to go down? Where do you even start with that?
A lot of, I would say, luck, the universe, blessing, God, fortuitiveness. And, I know I'm going to jump a little bit ahead of what we're talking about. It does lead into the core question you're going to ask me, because when I left, I was defeated when I left the corporate world. I believed truly that I was human garbage. If you had done a polygraph, or I had been under oath and the judge says say the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and they asked me, are you human garbage? I would say yes, and that would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Mm-hmm.
I was broken and I was defeated and I had lost. They had won and I was the loser. And every cell in my body knew that to be true. And Ali, I felt I felt I was truly incompetent at anything. There was nothing I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And off the back of working 20 years, Six Sigma black belt, leading multi-million-dollar transformations across the world, I was reduced to a space of knowing that I had nothing to offer the world as a human being.
Wow.
and that I had, and mine was a life not worth living. So I came to a space of just, I didn't know what I would do next, but I knew that I did know that I couldn't just go back and continue a 20-year pattern.
Mhm.
I could see that this has happened again and again and again. And I knew, or I believed truly, I was the problem. That
Mm.
somehow, if I could lean in more, work harder, because I had a grandiose internal locus of control. That somehow I could go back and regroup. And it was when I saw the Black Lives Matter protests,
Mm.
I realized, it was my road to Damascus moment, that there was nothing at all I could do to make people see me as a person.
And
Was
I just want to pause with some of those things you've said there. And I don't know how we're going to keep this on time because we're diving in. This is great conversation. I just want to keep having, when we talk about people making that break from corporate because it didn't work out for them, we tend to kind of put that in a box of that part of my world didn't work out. And now we go and do something else. But what you've said is so true with so many of the women that I've seen come through the therapy room is this impacts the whole sense of self, the whole sense of who I am, the identity. And then it's not a ripple, it's like a tsunami wave across the rest of your world. It's not that job didn't work out, it's my life isn't working out. That must be me. That initial feeling that it must be me. And then you said you kind of had that shift and realized, oh, maybe it's not me. Maybe there's nothing I can do. How did that feel?
it was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a period of, I would say, over a year.
Mm.
This was years, not days or weeks. It was a lot of denial. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not a loser. I'm not a quitter. I'm not a loser. I'm not I can overcome. I'm not like those people who play the race card
Mm.
and I want to be clear, I do not believe the race card exists. I actually find that I think anyone who says that to explain anything a person of color does is actually saying something deeply, 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 deeply dangerous and offensive.
Mm.
And so, but I would use it on myself. I would play the race card on myself.
Okay. You
You
would say to yourself, am I playing this?
Yes, and I would traumatize myself by saying you're playing this race card.
Oh,
And it was a horrible thing to say. I would never, if someone had said that to someone I loved, they would not, I'd be like, what? Earrings off, you better get running. And and if it had been to a minor, I would have called the RSP, I would have called the National Service for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. I
mm,
would call the police on if I heard someone saying that to a child. But I would say this to myself. I think,
mm-hmm.
if I could push through. So I think what helped, I ended up going to support groups. I got some help from a therapist. I joined a 12-step group for people who have workplace codependence.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that space I still go there. I'm there every day. And hearing people from all over the world with similar stories.
Mm-hmm.
And within that group, they had an affinity group for Black people. And I ended up joining that space as well and hearing my story.
Mm.
And just hearing this is happening. This is it's I it's okay. It's okay to feel powerless and feel depowered and feel humiliated and feel ashamed of myself. It's a normal response to being abused.
Mm.
It's what abusers do. It's what keeps abuse so secretive.
Right, all forms of abuse, absolutely. It must be your fault, so you need to deal with it, and no one else would feel this way. Yeah, so how come you feel that way? Oh, there must be something wrong with you.
Like these people, Ali, maybe. Yes, exactly. And so it was that helped. That was the journey. And what came to decide for me to do the film was I was doing some freelance engineering consulting work. And I was talking to somebody. I had been getting some feelers coming back with a bit more work opportunities. And I sat to myself, I had a conversation with myself, and I realized, I said, it's going to take me all of my energy to build an engineering consulting pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Is this how I want to spend my time? And the truth is, even a year plus after that final exit, the notion of going back and just consulting within the engineering space on engineering topics terrified. But this is just not what I wanted to go and spend my time doing. And just say, I still have conversations, I talk about what I do, and people still don't believe me about my engineering expertise. They don't. And it's like I'm going to a space where I'm going to just not be believed. And there's nothing I can say. The shortest way to be believed is to have a white colleague say what I have to say. And that does work all the time.
Wow.
It's never failed me once to have a white colleague, regardless of seniority, just repeat what I want to have said. And that's a challenge. And I didn't want to go into engineering, talking on engineering topics where it would just be, people just wouldn't be able to hear what I say unless it's translated by a gentleman who does not look like me. So but one of the things that had come up through my self-care journey, my healing journey, and just my breakdown, because it was a breakdown. And I still feel I'm coming out of it. I wouldn't say that I'm through the other side, but the notion of doing film and television came up, and I began to ask myself dangerous questions, like what do I want to do with my whole life? What do I want? If I could do anything, right? What would you do? And that's a dangerous question. Because you get dangerous answers. I'm like, well, I definitely wouldn't go back to engineering project management consulting. What I do, like,
to even let yourself explore that can be scary as well, can't it? Because this is a question that comes up in the therapy space, and when we work with young women as well, and they go, well, yes, but do you mean this? You do, even that concept of no, like if you had a blank piece of paper, if everything was available to you, what would you do? And you can just see them go, I don't know. But then you suddenly realize they get that, and a whole different, like, a horizon appears, because you've never thought of this in this way before, because we kind of conform down that, oh, so do you mean what university course do I need to take? Do you mean what job I need to go to? Do you what family setup I need? No, what if you just did what you wanted to do?
And I think when I was younger, there was this phrase around, what would you do if you would never fail? And I used to say that to myself, and that and it would be, in that case. But now my question is different. If I was guaranteed failure, what would I do? That this would never be successful. So I'm only gonna do it because I love it.
Okay.
And the reality is, every time I think about that, if I won the lottery tomorrow and I got my multi-million-dollar check.
Yeah.
How would I then spend my time? And you know what, Ali? I'd make a movie.
So that's what you did. You went and made
a movie.
A movie.
And the issue for me was, there was a part of that thinking, part of this unhelpful thinking of, when you retire or wait a few more years and then do later. And I thought, the truth is, in 10 years, how old, if I don't start now, I'm in my 40s, if I don't start now and I wait 10 years, I'm still gonna have to be a beginner. There's no way around it. So I might have, and project engineering projects aren't going anywhere. They'll be there. But yes, I began to sit on this. The more I thought about it, the reality is, if not now, when? I don't do it now, when will I do it? And what am I expecting will change that will make this more attractive in the future? The only difference, they may have a bit more money saved up, but then who knows? But the landscape will be different. And I ended up meeting an amazing woman who helped me as a consulting producer figure out how to do this, not just artistically, but also financially, in a business minded way,
Yes.
which was
Yes.
important for me to do.
So you had your story, but you needed other women. And, with the topic, and we're going to have to do another interview because the topic we were going to talk about was fear, but we kind of touched on that. And I guess, you go out to people and you say, I want you to talk about this experience, and I'm going to put it in a film, and I'm going to promote this film, and people are going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of response did you get?
Well, the first person that I considered for the film said never. And she was the last person to sign up to be on that film. And that person is called Jimi. I was the last person cast on it because I was like, this, I just can't do this. It was generally the response was very positive.
Okay.
There were definitely a lot of women, even those who said they would not be part of it, felt it needed to be told. And
yes,
the reason a lot of them didn't want to be part was fear.
Mm.
Some didn't want to go back into the real trauma of what they had dealt with all those years ago. They had moved past it. They didn't want to go back into that place and sit in that space. Some people were terrified their employers would come after them. And were afraid that something horrible would happen. And I would say that we did work, and I are working with, like my first team member is a media lawyer. So we've been very careful in how we tell the story, that we aren't putting the women at risk.
Yes.
From anyone from these stories. And the truth is, the film is not about employers. It's about our stories and what we went through.
Yes.
So it was mixed. We had a lot of people, I think some people signed up and dropped out. Some people dropped out and came back in later. So it was a mixture, generally this is important, but not everybody was in a space where they could be part of the film. And for me, that, I don't know, maybe now looking back at it, it's like probably more of a reason why we needed to do the film, for the people who are still uncomfortable talking about what happened to them.
Right.
They know that it's okay. You don't have to. You can just show someone this film without you having to go back into that space or having to talk about your own experience.
So what's your purpose now? The film is made, and you want to get the message out there. So what are you looking to do now with this amazing documentary that you've made?
So you know what? I will say one thing. I've let go a lot in terms of expectations. Back in the day, having a 1-year plan, 5-year plan, all that stuff, fun stuff, the exciting things we did. I think when it comes to being more, to having a strategy, it is more about hope, because when you put numbers on something, you're planning. This is something I learned late in life. And people want to plan, what's your plan, and the planning. But when you look at strategy, it's really, we're taking some bets, some strategic bets. And I like that because it's uncomfortable, it's nervous, and we don't know what the result's going to be. My hope is to get the film to 1 million professional women of color in the West, for them to see it at no cost to them.
Okay.
That is my hope. And on the road to that, to get the film to 250,000 allies for a cost.
Right. Okay.
And I'm happy just to start there. I hope that is, because I don't know what people are going to take and where people are going to go with it. And I'm also growing, dealing with my own confidence in myself about what the next steps should be, because I don't know. And I'm happy just that this is the next thing. We are organizing it. So we're doing screening events with companies right now, and trying to get leaders, encouraging senior leaders to have difficult conversations with each other, not with me, not with women, not to say, okay, how do we encourage our junior women of color or women or people of color or people with disabilities to have hard conversations? No, 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 no. That's cheating. You as the senior executive need to have the hard conversation with yourself, with each other. Why for the last 200 years have there only been white men in this room? That's the conversation you need to have among yourselves. Difficult conversation. And we hope the film will help them start having that conversation amongst themselves. And honestly, to some extent, leave us out of it. You know, it's, and because I think that that's what I'm hoping with the film, and to create a safe space for leaders to watch this and not feel personally attacked, and not feel that I'm talking about it's another shot about us and what we're not doing right.
Because that is something that does happen, isn't it? People feel like I'm being blamed, and then they get defensive, and then you lose that opportunity that you have to open discussion, you know. So, and it's a human thing that we do, because humans want to be right in their space.
Yes.
And even though maybe they know that space isn't right, we hold on to that, you know. And so here's more information that maybe I don't relate to, that I can't relate to, that isn't my story. So I think that, you know, I've never heard that before, that you're trying to create a space for them to have that conversation with themselves in a safe space.
Because for a lot of things, and again, going back to our corporate days, you know, some of the places where we feel the least safe in companies are with our peers, our team. So if there's a leader who wants to champion something, we really feel that we need to change our rhetoric around maternity leave. And we do need to start challenging our middle managers on how and what they talk to women about when they're considering having children. Like I remember I worked in consulting, I wanted to have a child. And my team leader said, that's never going to happen. There's just no way you can be successful in this company. And he was a junior. I mean, he was not even, he was very junior. And he said that with all confidence and bravado. And, you know, I left shortly after that. But they need, so I'm not the one, I'm tired of being in my day job, having to then educate him, because I'm going to have to educate everybody. I work in STEM. If it's now my job to start having those conversations,
right,
I will be having them every day, all the time, because the imbalance is so great. So the question is, you know, his boss needed to talk to him.
So you told your story. You were the last one to sign up. You encouraged all these women to come forward and tell their story, and you were like, not me. And then you did. And how did that feel when you said, yeah, I'm going to do it?
I felt both excited and nervous. My crew were really happy. Like, yes, you definitely should put yourself in there. I actually felt it was maybe morally the right thing to do. Not maybe, because it did help. Where I was asking other women to come in and be vulnerable.
Right.
And there were some questions, and some people had questions about, okay, how will this be used and what will you do? And I said, the truth is, I'm now going to be in there. There isn't anything I'm going to be asking you to do that I'm not going to be doing myself. And so I do want this, and I think that created more. I like to think it created more, you know, sisterhood, more fellowship.
Yes.
With each other in doing it. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that it's been said, and I'm glad I wouldn't say brave. I'm glad I gave myself the time to come around.
Right.
You know, and rather than just saying you just do it, no, like, you know what, I'm just gonna sit with it. I remember meditating, and I heard a voice say, be in the film, and I said, get behind me, Satan. I will not do it. And I remember saying, I know that I hear you, and I know I should do this. I hear now. I hear that it's clear that I should be in the film. I am not going to do it, but I hear that it is the right thing to do. And I would say that to myself. have that conversation. But I
Yes.
went through from that to finally saying, yes, I will do it. And that's one of the things I am learning from my own journey, Ali, now is, I don't have to be ready today to take that step.
Oh,
I don't have to. I can get ready. I can know this is the step for me to do, like giving up sugar, right? It's just taken me. Well, we'll see, but I know it's something for me to do today. I know it's important. Something I commit to, but I don't have to make that decision today. And people may say that's procrastinating, and I feel that this is my own inner voice. You're procrastinating. No, I'm not a machine.
right.
I'm a human being. I'm a human woman. And my subconscious, the part of my body, my mind that I'm at my unconscious. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist, so this is going to be, please, this is not a scientific discussion,
No,
but there's a part of my brain that controls the emotions. It has no language. And that part of my brain has a lot more influence in what I do than my conscious mind.
but that's a huge thing because, and we're going to have to wrap up in a minute, but it's a huge thing because I think, one of the messages that we hear for women, for young women, and I also, I do want to include young men in this as well, because they are under pressure with this media life that we lead, this, completely like visible life that everyone leads, is you've got to be able to step in and do it now. You've got to lead this great life now. You've got to take risks now. You've got to do things now. And to, again, to be able to have that conversation with yourself and just say, I'm open to it. Okay. I want to explore it, but I don't have to be posting that I did it today, that I achieved it today, that I'm doing this today, that I can take my time. And then when I do it, I feel I'm in that
Yes.
good space to do it. Because you could have said with the movie, I don't really want to do it, but I need to do it because it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to do my bit now. And I think that would have felt totally different and looked totally different to the audience, to the Jimi that we're going to see when you've gone through that. I feel I should be in it, but I'm not going to do it. And now I'm going to tell my story. The whole energy will have been completely different.
And the one thing that has allowed me to do that has really been letting go of what other people think about me.
Right.
There is a quote, I knew it in my head. It's now in my heart, and it's taken years for it to get into my heart. What other people think about me is none of my business.
Right.
It isn't. And so people say, well, you should definitely be in it. Thank you. It's not relevant what you think, but thanks for the thoughts. I'm even to the point where I don't even ask for advice. I'm very, very picky about who I get advice from because I know myself way more than anybody else. And I'm probably lying to myself most times. And just having the time to get to how do I truly feel? Because again, that part of my brain, she will eventually tell me she
Yes.
doesn't want to do anything. And so we can talk about all these fun things. My heart rate's going up. I'm starting to sweat. I'm getting irritated and defensive. My unconscious mind is basically saying no. So there's no point me saying yes. I have to now do that work with it's just that freedom I have from having gone through the burnout, the breakdown, getting so sick to really there's no point me trying to pretend anymore because I'm not going to win. The only way I can win is if all of Jimi shows up. And I cannot do anything. And that means for the first time in my life, I've got to put first what I truly, truly, truly want. That has to be first. And I have to listen now because for 40 years, I have been silencing her. 30 years, I have been silencing who I truly am. And now she's made it very clear. You don't listen to me, I will shut the whole thing down.
And on that note, we need to close it down, but we are definitely going to have you back for another episode, because I think there's a lot more to talk about. But before you go, the question that I ask all of my guests, because I'm collecting the answers because they're always so different, is for you, when we talk about relationship and relationships in any concept, what does that term mean to you?
For me, I think it means a healthy codependence.
Oh.
I have found in my and this speaks for someone who has diminished themselves and keeps shrinking and accommodating and shrinking. This is not for everybody, because for some people, this is not for you. But for me, because I have made my life about shrinking and people pleasing, a relationship for me today is about taking up space in someone else's life, being someone that inconveniences somebody else, as I same here, they take up space in my life, and I do things that I do not particularly like for whether my inner child, my unconscious, which is, jigsaw puzzling and playing with dolls,
Yeah.
or for a niece, a nephew, a cousin, a parent,
Mm-hmm.
a loved one, or a boyfriend. It's that taking up space and being an inconvenience to somebody else.
I love that. Thank you so much. So this has been an amazing conversation, and I'm glad that we got that scheduled in. If you want to know more, then if you look below, you will see all the links that tell you about the amazing film, where you can kind of find out more about it, find out more about Jimi, and get involved if that's what you want to do. And if you liked this, this is the usual YouTube blurb. Do remember to like and subscribe. The channel is not a spam channel. I only come on here when I feel like I have something that I want to talk about or an episode that I want to share. But if you do subscribe, then you will never miss another episode that comes along. So thank you so much. Thank you, Jimi, for coming into the arena.
Thank you for having me, Ali. Great to be here.
Oh, thank you. And as always, I hope that you continue and everyone watching continues to have healthy and harmonious relationships in your world.